Welcome. I am Dr. Berry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. I hope everyone had a good Thursday, Turkey Day, Thanksgiving, wherever you are. I hope yesterday went well. We had a good time with family today. I decided to go on ahead and do videos today instead of Saturday. So my normal stream schedule is Saturday. And so want to go on ahead and do this today. And then I think I'm going to put up the Christmas lights tomorrow. We shall see. And then I'm definitely going to cover Sarah Boone's sentencing on either Monday night or possibly on Tuesday. I will update. I know Tanika, so there are lots of people that will be covering Sarah Boone live. I believe I have clients at the time that it will be live, so I don't think I'll be able to cover it live. But I appreciate you all being here. Welcome, welcome. And we are going to start with the Laurie Shaver case. If you know nothing about this case, she was convicted in September in the death of her husband. At the time of his death, they were still legally married, but it sounds like they were kind of separated. Like she was with other people and their relationship sounds um like it was pretty toxic, and she is going to make allegations in a letter to the judge that is reminds me of Sarah Boone so much that I had to cover it. I did watch Grizzly True Crime cover this letter, um but with Laurie Shaver, um so her husband, y'all know me in names, Michael Shaver, he disappeared in November of 2015. But somebody with her IP address continued, or like her geographical region, continued to message people using his Facebook account and sent flowers to Lori's boyfriend's wife, trying to break up his marriage. And so Jeremy is going to come up in the letter and we're going to talk about that too. I do have my prior videos on on this case linked below, and we will yeah, so this was a really horrific case. And Lori says that her daughter, who was 7 years old at the time, that her daughter was the one that actually pew-pewed the father, and that Jeremy, her boyfriend at the time, but she had to make this happen in, like, May of 2016 instead of November of 2015 because she wasn't dating him in November, okay? So, what came out in court was just mind-blowing, and it did not make any sense at all why he disappeared from November to May, she said, and I think she testified? I think she got on the stand. I could be wrong. So I know that the daughter, who's now 15 years old, and the daughter got on the stand to testify that she shot her father, which is, I don't believe it's true. The jury didn't believe it was true. And even if it was true, like, her mother should be the one responsible, in my personal opinion. Like, the child was 7. Who would let their daughter go up there to be like, oh, I did it? And so I really feel for Lori's children because she had additional children with her now husband. So she is married. His last name is Filmer, and she's went on to have additional, I think 2 more children. Y'all know me in details. Sometimes I have to have them in front of me to know for sure. Lori is going to claim that her first husband, Michael, was harmful to her. She's going to claim all of these things. And the testimony in this case was very powerful. And I did just want to take a look at the letter that she wrote the judge, because it is a lot. All right, let me pull this up. So she wrote the state attorney and she copied the judge. Okay, I'm going to make myself a little, I think this might be big enough. Okay, we'll keep it like this. because the snark is gonna be real in this one. Like, it's gonna be a lot. And I apologize to the attorney. So this letter was written on November 4th, but it wasn't uploaded until like November 15th. But I think people recently realized that this was available. She was just sentenced. I want to say it was either on Monday or Tuesday. She was just sentenced this week. And we are going to watch the judge sentence her because after reading this letter, you might understand why the judge said nothing besides her sentence. So normally, it's like the other case that we're going to talk about in the Susan Lorincz trial, w- the judge spoke to her, he explained his thoughts and reasonings. This judge just gave her the sentence and that was it. So Mr. Kumusio, I'm bad with names. My name is Laurie Filmer, formerly known as Laurie Shaver, and I am writing you concerning the case of Michael Shaver and my conviction. I know with every fiber of my being you wanted for me to be guilty of Michael Shaver. Why though? This is something after all these years I've been unable to comprehend. Was it because it is a standard to always go after the spouse, the one closest to the person? Is it because it's just easier to accuse the spouse than to actually spend the means necessary to properly investigate? Or might it be because there are so many cases for you to handle, you prefer to rush through them than to do what is actually right? Okay. So some of y'all know nothing about this case. So in this case, so he went missing in 2015. They recovered his body in 2018 and she built a burn pit. Like she built a fire pit on top of where he was buried. I'll say that again. I think her and her new husband. I don't think the new husband was aware of what was under there, but and the pit that Michael Shaver died in, we all believe it was likely the duck pond that he was digging for his children. Like, he was in the backyard, he had been working on a pond, like, he had been working on building something for the kids, and that is where he was recovered. And the way that she's minimizing and just being like, "How could you blame me?" When it's like, "Ma'am, you're the one that said that which I don't believe for a second. You said your daughter's the one in the midst of an argument, your daughter shot him and your boyfriend did like, it's just it was a mess, and I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe what she said happened at all. What it sounds like happened is that something happened at the house. I don't think the kids were there, and she likely buried him in the backyard. Like, that's just what makes sense. That's just what because then she continued to pretend to be him. It's it was a mess. All right. Oh, okay. Prior to my arrest in September 2020, this was a closed case file due to insufficient evidence to name any person as the primary. It was listed as a closed case file, not for tips as previously indicated, because the tips received and called in were never followed up on. I don't know if any of that's true. She's really passionate about that part. Okay. So my question is, what changed from March 2018 to September 2020 that led to my arrest? In 2018, a body was found on my previously owned 5-acre property, which I think was actually Michael Shaver's family. Like, I because some people were really upset that she called it her property because it was probably Michael's property, but that's a whole other kind of thing. And she never reported him missing. She never, like, it doesn't sound like there was any financial motive in this case. Like, so from 2015, she said he just, well, I guess, like, and she's saying she had no clue where he was or any of that, or any of what happened, which just doesn't seem to be the case at all. All right. All right. but there was nothing linking me to the murder of Michael Shaver in 2018, 2019, or most of 2020, or else I would have been arrested immediately or shortly after the discovery of his body. From my review of the case file, nothing changed from 2018 to 2020 except the falsified statement supposedly made by Travis Filmer, her husband, back in 2018 was added in. So Travis said something, and I don't know. Sorry, I hit the mic. I don't know what So Travis is her current husband. I think they're still married. I think they're still married. Travis is her current husband, and he because he testified for the defense. I think he might have been called by the prosecution. I'm not sure. But he says that he knew nothing, blah blah blah. Like he totally supported her in every way. In my personal opinion, she seems to be obsessed with her ex, Jeremy, who was previously in the military. He was married at the time. It was an affair. And he decided to go back to his wife. And he just called it friends with benefits. And if y'all could see her face when he on the stand, because I think she thought he was in love with her, and he wasn't. He wasn't in love with her. Like it was just about like, so he says he would just go during lunchtime. During her lunch, he would stop by the house, things would happen, and he would go. And that was it. And she tried to make it sound like, no, he was there in the morning. He was around the kids, and he's like, no, I wasn't. No, like it was just a friends with benefits thing. And his wife was a teacher at the kid's school, and like she mailed the lady flowers with a poem that said that so Lori bought flowers for his wife and pretended to be Michael Shaver, saying like something to the effect of roses are red, violets are blue. My wife, your husband is a like I don't know, like there was some weird, oh gosh. If y'all know the poem, Laurie Shaver poem flowers. Uh oh my wife is a whore, your husband is too. Like that was the rest of the poem that she wrote. Her husband was deceased at this time. Okay. And um, I don't, when we start talking about diagnoses, because it sounds like she was in, like, the relationship between her and Michael wasn't good. I'm not aware of anything but in her relationship with Travis. Was that his name? Y'all know me in names. I believe it's Travis Filmer. Yes. I don't know what happened in that relationship. When we talk in general about diagnoses, to me, it takes some level of narcissism to blame it on your child. Like, and so I'm not saying she's narcissistic, but I am saying, how could you let your child get on the stand and believe that it's partly their fault, that your child was defending you because their dad is this horrific person. And the mother never got her therapy. The daughter just got therapy this year or something like that. Like she never the father disappeared. Nobody heard from him from 2015. She's saying 2016. I don't believe that was true. And so those are some of the thoughts that come to my mind when taking a look at this case. Back in 2018, the body was found, DNA results were obtained, interviews were conducted, ballistic results received, screenshots of Facebook messages had been provided, investigators' reports, etc., etc. In 2018 and 2019, all the information in the case file remained the same, and none of which was enough for a judge to sign off on a presumable. Maybe. So it says presumable cause, but I think it means probable. I think she means probable cause, but it says presumable cause report and issue a warrant for my arrest. The evidence was insufficient and there was no primary source of evidence. As such, the case was filed as a cold case. So again, I ask, what changed? What new evidence came into the case file from 2018 to 2020 that led to my arrest? Nothing. What I presume happened is after this was, I don't, that word, manked, ranked. I don't know. But as a cold case, Michael's family called and put pressure on you or someone higher than you, as they have stated in media interviews, that they will not stop until justice is done, which I don't blame them. Good for Michael's family for putting pressure on them to do something about this case. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's no secret the Shaver family have and hold political positions in the state of Georgia. They run over 40 prisons in Georgia. I wonder if they run one that she's in Florida. She's not in Georgia. But it would be kind of funny if she was in a prison. Oh, so not but like in a, y'all know I have a dark sense of humor. So like in a dark sense of humor kind of way, like if she was in a prison that they owned, but are wealthy and have power of influence. But I think she means power and influence, maybe. I don't know. So again, I ask you, what changed? Nothing, right? Except now, for some reason, other other than seeking the justice, which is like a good reason, on arrest, and an arrest needs to be made, even if that means wrongfully convicting an innocent person. I don't believe that's true. Like the gall of people to write these letters. And like, why? Why? Like they just, I think she was just so mad that she was convicted that she like wrote this letter. So she has an attorney, and this was filed pro se because she has a lawyer. Like this should have never went. Like, she should have given this, because if she had given this to her lawyer would have said, "This looks bad." Like, "No, I'm not, like, I'm not gonna get, like, this is not in your best interest to give any of this information, especially before your sentencing. Because for your sentencing, I'm gonna try to say that, like, I'm gonna try to get you as few years as possible." So, to me, this shows no remorse. Like, this is not good. But I don't think she has insight to see just how bad this would come off to the judge and to anybody else reading it. In my just my thoughts. All right. All right. As I see it, for over 2 years, it was the media it was in the media that his body was found on my property. I obtained an attorney, and even though there was no evidence linking me to the death or burial site of Michael Shaver, something new had to exist for the judge to sign off on a presumable, which is probable, presumable cause report and issue a warrant. That something new was the supposed statement of Travis Filmer, her husband. My question to this is, if Travis Filmer made the statement in 2018, essentially indicating that I had confessed something to him, then why wasn't I arrested in 2018? Because he didn't make the statement and signed an affidavit indicating such. So whatever statement was made by Travis, it was not filmed, and it never came into court. So the supposed statement made by Travis Filmer in March 2018 was not recorded. There is no body cam. He was never asked to provide a written statement, and that's something was cut off at right there, but it's fine. In 2020, to obtain the warrant for my arrest and charge of second degree and accessory. There was never any new evidence that was obtained in 2020 that wasn't in the case file in 2018. Instead, a story was fabricated and fed to the media to create an emotional response from people, so you could force your fabricated story without evidence that has ultimately led to my conviction. No, like, it was the evidence, ma'am. It wasn't a fabric, like, it was the evidence that led to her conviction. I watched this trial. There was very strong evidence that she was guilty. She was doing all the things, in my opinion, but, like, but she doesn't see it. Ugh. Okay. To this day, there is no evidence, nor will there ever be, to link me to the murder or burial of Michael Shaver, as I did not pull the trigger, nor had any connection or knowledge of what was done to his body. The only thing that exists is a fictional story to make a case. Wow. What there is proof the detectives and the state did not properly investigate or follow procedures while investigating a case of this magnitude. Because, of course, like she's so important and this is such a huge magnitude, and they did not take the time. Like, oh my gosh. Hey, YouTube streets, like, why would you do this? Why would you do any of this? I wouldn't recommend any of this. Do not write letters to the judge. This is not helpful to anyone except for YouTube commentators covering this. Like it's like don't do this. This is not good. And so once again, when I show y'all the judge's sentencing, cuz it'll all make sense. It'll all make sense. Oh my gosh. Even after my attorney came to you, not to make a deal, but in hopes a proper investigation would have been conducted, nothing was done. Even after my attorney told you the knowledge I had of what happened and who to investigate, nothing more was done. For some reason, everyone was fine with the I short interview. Oh my gosh. With the one short interview done with Jeremy Townsend, which is so Jeremy Townsend was the one that she was having the affair with, but like briefly, like it was like it might have been probably the worst few months of his life because she really blamed this on him and reworked the timeline so that it fit when she knew him, when it likely happened before they were even romantically involved. Like that's because it seems to be very clear that Michael went missing in November. That's the last time anyone saw him face to face. And anything after November is her the allegation alleged well, she's been convicted. What she was convicted of is that it was her on his devices after that. And Jeremy, like, what she said did not make any sense to anybody, but okay. The jury deliberated, I think, for 4 hours, but yeah. Okay, so the one short interview done with Jeremy Townsend as his wife sat beside him. Even after tips came in from outsiders regarding Jeremy, no further investigation was conducted. No one contacted Mark Valenti or his wife to verify statements. No one investigated or reviewed the prior injunction orders filed against Jeremy to see if they lined up with my statements about him harassing, threatening, and following me and my family. So she had this thing that he was like following her family around town. That part didn't make because he didn't want her any he went back to his wife. That's what he did. But okay. No one requested his phone records, email records, Facebook records. Detective so and so stated his were too old, which I don't understand how so, as they were for the same time for period as mine. If I had if you had sorry, if you had it, would have discovered he had a private investigator looking for Mike. What? But that would confirm that Mike was deceased. What? So even if Jeremy hired a private investigator to look for Mike, but he was the state believes he was already deceased by then. I that part didn't help, but she thought it did. Okay. And so she said that he continued to follow her and blah blah blah. He begged me to wait for him. This is what she wanted to happen. This isn't what happened. He went back to his wife and his family. That's what he did. He begged for me to wait for him, wanting some time for his wife to cool down and also so he could move his business money around. Okay, I got to come back to the chat because how would you feel if you were her current husband? because she seems like she still loves Jeremy. Like, she seems so enthralled, and Jeremy looks different than he did when she knew him back then, and I think she didn't like, because he looked kinda, I don't know, but, like, he had long hair, beard, uh, like, I just can't. Yes. Yes. She said that it was Jeremy, but that it happened in May, right before school, and that she took the kids to school right after she said her 7-year-old shot first, and then Jeremy somehow, the story did not make any sense. And the poor 15-year-old is the one that had to go through it. And I hope that she has a really, really good therapist, because I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. Um, so, um, did she have terrible boundaries? So I don't know. I know in these relationships, yeah, but I don't know about other situations or things. And I think she did have a tattoo that, like, represented, that's my understanding. That's my understanding, that there was some type of tattoo. Okay. Jeremy had stated he'd left his wife. Jeremy had stated his wife would get half of his military benefit, but he could hide the landscaping business money by moving it to his partner. That way, she couldn't get it in the divorce. He wasn't gonna divorce his wife. He wasn't. This is all fictional. Like, Jeremy was not gonna leave his wife, 'cause I believe him when he said she was a friend with benefits. Like, that's all he was interested in. Okay. And then so she's now saying, "But I wanted nothing to do with him." Yeah. Okay. So that's what she said. I wanted nothing to do with him. Okay. So Laurie's saying, "Your fictional story is not accurate at all. I've lived my life in fear, controlled, harmed, and on edge or walking on eggshells." I think that's how other people are. I'm not sure that's the life she lives, but okay. So to speak during my marriage to Michael Shaver. Okay, so she's gonna make some allegations about Michael that I don't think are true. Because there is an allegation, and Michael's family know about this, where he was arrested during a domestic situation where she was threatening to. It's my understanding, like, she was threatening the family with a pew pew, and he just wanted his kids to be safe. Like, that's all he wanted, was for his kids to be safe. And so Lori's saying, "I refuse to go back to Jeremy after he threatened me and my family. I seen who he was and what he is capable of and wanted no part of it." I don't believe it. Jeremy was fully aware about a concrete patio to be built. The concrete was purchased while we were dating. S- So, because it's my understanding the concrete patio, and that's because Michael's body was under that fire pit area, and I don't even know what caused them to look under it, but for some reason they did, and I think she posted a picture of the concrete on Facebook or something. Like, there was, it reminds me so much of Sarah Boone, so much. So she would say no, the people in her life would say yes. So she would say no. And, Cynthia, Jeremy did talk about having, combat trauma. So, Jeremy does have, PTSD from his military experience. That's why he was receiving disability. Her lawyer ticked me all the way off because he was trying to make it sound like Jeremy was sitting back collecting a check and was like the her attorney tried to make it sound like he was scheming the government to get benefits, but I was like, "No, no, no." Like, he has injuries from war. he qualifies for disability and he is appropriately receiving the services offered by the VA. Like it was just a mess. It was a mess. All right, let's keep going. I do know that he, Jeremy, did not bury the body on my property the day of Michael Shaver's death. Like, why would you know that? I was gone 25 to 30 minutes that morning, and he was gone when I arrived as well. The concrete patio was not poured till months later because it was poured by her current husband. I tried Contra contacting Jeremy with no success until he finally showed back up at my house about 2 p.m. He wouldn't answer my questions or give me the details. I don't think any of this is true. He reassured me that he had everything covered and it was best for me to not have knowledge so nothing could come back on me. So still like in her mind, Jeremy is saving her. And it's like, no, he none of this is true. None of this is true. My personal thoughts and the evidence of what she was convicted of. So, oh my gosh. All right. I know he was only protecting himself. I suspected Jeremy took the body to his family's property near so there's some place because his family does have property and that came up. Also, Jeremy was a partner in a landscaping business and had access to larger equipment. Has it ever occurred to you why a so-called innocent person would obtain an attorney around the same time my daughter did, even though he wasn't being investigated or charged? Because you were accusing him of a crime. Like, ma'am, that's why he spoke to an attorney. And the daughter, because in order for the daughter to testify, because the daughter was pretty much saying, "I was there and I was involved in what happened to my dad," and she was given, like, a guardian ad litem, somebody to represent her best interests and talk with her about the pros and cons of doing this, because I don't think any of what the story she remembered or what her mom had told her, which is so like, talk about the psychological and mental harm of that, where, like, your parent is saying you did something that the parent likely did for the parent to not get into trouble. Like, that's just mind-blowing to me. But, oy, okay. I obtained an attorney because I had knowledge and was afraid to expose the truth in fear of retaliation from Jeremy. He was not happy that I would not wait for him. He didn't want her and cut him out of my life. I think there's evidence of her like still trying to like reach out to him after he had broke it off. I told him I'd never tell anyone and he had nothing to worry about. But obviously, as I found out, that did not sit well with him, as he must have tried to set me up by moving the body to my property, fully aware of the concrete patio to be poured. Whatever. Jeremy Townsend obtained an attorney after hearing her daughter obtained an attorney, as he knew that meant he was going to be exposed. But here again, he was minimally questioned and not investigated. Not only did he lie under oath, but he changed his appearance so he wouldn't be recognized. What? He completely changed his appearance so he wouldn't be recognized. She's like she's trying to make it sound like he changed his appearance for you because of this. No, like he just wanted to grow a beard. Like it's just it's so bad. It's so bad. And so there are these things called non-bizarre delusions, but this is I so to me this is in my personal opinions, okay? So there's a difference between a delusion and a lie, okay? Because she likely knows exactly what happened. She's trying to lie to not get in trouble, okay? So when I was a teenager, And if my mom asked, "Is your room clean?" and I wanted to go outside, I wasn't del I knew my room wasn't clean. I wasn't delusional. I didn't think my room was clean. I lied to try to, like, go out and deal with the consequences later. Like, there's a difference between a lie and a delusion, okay? Like, this seems in my personal thoughts. I don't know her. I did not assess her. She likely does have a history of trauma. She likely does have a legit, but she also has some of her own behaviors and stuff, just from what I've heard. She has her own stuff. And, and I think people go to the borderline category because it does sound like she has this intense fear of abandonment, rejection. But then I also get some flavor of she feels all important. She feels like she can do whatever she wants. You know, mm, she definitely tries to make herself to be the victim in everything. And does not seem to protect the people, in my opinion, that truly need to be protected, like the children. Because the children from 2015 to 2018, they just thought their dad disappeared. And it's my understanding that he was a great dad. He was involved. Like, I think he kind of stayed married to Lori so that he could still, be with his children and just so things wouldn't be difficult. Um, and so 'Cause she married Travis, so not legally, because she wasn't, because Jeremy wasn't declared, sorry, not Jeremy, Michael. So Michael was her first husband. He wasn't declared deceased until 2018, but she had a ceremony in 2016, I wanna say it was December 2016, where she married Travis, okay? But, like, she wasn't divorced. And his family, they all thought they were attending a wedding, but legally it couldn't be a wedding because she was still married to her first husband. They never got divorced. Like, this case is just what? But she's making everybody else to be the villain, and everybody else isn't doing their job. Everybody else is making her look bad when it's like, ma'am, this does not look good for you. Mm, just my thoughts. Okay. So completely changed his appearance so he wouldn't be recognized. The state and the detectives on this case failed to properly and thoroughly investigate all avenues and ran with the one and only suspect, me. It's like the whole case was seen through tunnel vision and no one ever took a step to truly evaluate another reason or suspect. Justice has not been served in the case of Michael Shaver, and an innocent person, myself, just in case anybody didn't know who she was talking about, has been prosecuted. I know that I haven't always made the best decisions. I'm not laughing because it's funny, okay? But, like, that's a major understatement. I haven't always made the best decisions, okay, or been the utmost honest person during my marriage to Michael. But one thing for sure, I am not, this reminds me of Sarah. Like, that's the one thing she doesn't wanna be seen as. She doesn't wanna be seen as a schmurderer. That's the one thing. If I wanted to see Michael dead, then I didn't like, so this is the grammar, it's fine. I'll fix it. If I wanted to see Michael dead, then why didn't I shoot him during any of the other ample times I was being, physically harmed? That's her allegation. Okay. Why would I call 911, a record and case file, in fear of Michael was going to hurt himself after an argument we had, and he was forced out of the house by Robert so and so. When I was cut off in trial trying to explain Michael's anger, because I think she was trying to introduce something that they had already ruled on couldn't be introduced. So that's what she, when she talks about getting cut off, it's because she was trying to introduce something that they had already said could not come in. What I was going to say was Michael's anger stemmed from essentially being abandoned by his father. Oh my gosh, why? The last time he spent a summer in Georgia at his father's house was in 7th grade. Like, Michael was a troubled kid. why are you ruining this man's what? Like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna skip over all of that stuff she's saying about Michael because he is the victim in this case, and I don't believe a word of any of the and even if this is true stuff, she is using this to use against him later. What? And he's deceased. Oh, okay. So she admits to having codependency issues, and she alleges being mentally and physically harmed. Because of the harm and constant defending of Michael's actions, I lost family and friends. Getting out never seemed like an option due to lack of support, financial means, housing, but she was living in his house. What do you mean? Fear he'd find me and unalive me. Like, this is Darvo at its finest. She's out here talking about how she was afraid that he would unalive her, and she's been found guilty of second degree murder. I did leave my friends and I did leave the kids in New York. Oh my gosh, like I just can't. Things got worse. She's going back and forth. Oh my gosh. And so like she literally just talks so bad about this man and how she lost faith in men and the judicial systems because the bad guys always fight and win. How do you sleep at night knowing Michael's not who the media tried to portray, and knowing there's so many holes in this case. The investigation was not full and complete. You tore a family apart. You tore a mother away from her four children. You put an innocent person, a DV survivor, behind bars. For what? Publicity, money, pension, politics, another win for the books. Why? 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 Darvo is I always know it off the top of my head because it's deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. So it's deny. I'm not the one causing the harm. You're the one harming me. Attacking the other person, the actual victim, reverse victim, and offender. So she's over here trying to accuse the like that the prosecutor is intentionally tearing a family apart when the evidence points to her. A jury convicted her, and she's the one well, I don't know that she ever admitted to using the Facebook account to pretend to be him. I don't think she admitted that. Oh my gosh. The real murderer walks free, and my children, ages 16, 13, 6, and 5, now must grow up without a mother and a broken family. I may not be much to you, but I am to my children, and my children are my world. And yet you let your 16-year-old think that it was partly her fault. I just can't. This is Ugh. The state has filed petitions multiple times in an attempt to take my children from me. Because of this every time the judge dismissed the case, something like that. My children have always been healthy, clean, happy with me, loved, smart, respectful, caring. They know Jesus. Th- And in letters like this, people always have to bring God into it. Like that always happens, and are now surrounded by people who love and support them. We've all been through so much. When does someone stop and say, I see you, I hear you. What happened to you was wrong and not your fault, and we will help you. But that's for your therapist, ma'am. Like, like if you'd like to get some therapy in jail, like what? Like, she doesn't admit her part at all. She just doesn't. Isn't the judicial system supposed to be about proving innocence or guilt based on the facts gathered through investigation instead of building a case around some theory someone had? The sad part is, I know none of this matters to you, nor will it affect you in any way because the truth has never been your desire or goal over the past 6 years. It's wrong and it's a disgrace. I know what I've done, oh, and what I haven't done. Yeah. I know of my innocence and God knows the truth. I told you, they always bring God into it. I don't know why God has kept me alive and going over all these years of harm, but being found guilty, I do believe it was for a purpose to change and expose this district. I missed that the first time. She thinks that God allowed her to be convicted so that she can now change the justice system. Like, please leave God out of this. Like, this is why people leave church and like, oh my, and I'm a person of but like this ma'am, because so the evidence was strong. Like, this wasn't one of those cases where I was on the fence of like, "Oh, did she?" No, like, the evidence was strong in this case, and to me, any mother that would let their child get up and say, "We were having an argument, the child went and grabbed a pew pew and shot," and then somehow, because to me, Jeremy magically appears. Because to there was no, like, Jeremy was at that, like, because she's talking with Michael, and then they're having an argument. She's in this weird position, and then the daughter and I don't believe any of this is true, supposedly shoots Michael, and then somehow Jeremy, her, like, guardian angel magically appears and, like, takes him out. And then she takes the kids to school. The kid has a normal day. They brought this daughter's teacher in. Like, I thought he really arrived by magic. Like, I did not understand how Jeremy got there. Like, in this whole story, like, where did Jeremy come from? Like, was he in the back? Was he getting the kids breakfast? Because Jeremy said, "May I only went there at noon. Like, I was only going there to get some." Like, that was the only reason why Jeremy went. Like, Jeremy wouldn't be there in the morning before the kids went to school. It's like, no, like, he would be taking his kid to school. He wasn't there in the morning to, like, hang out and chat. No. He didn't do that. It was so this case. All right. Okay. So somehow this is now her purpose to change and expose this district. The enemy has tried and tried to falter my faith over all these years, but I stayed strong and refused to let him win. It's not funny. It's not so I have a dark sense of humor, okay? Cuz it's like, what? Oh, okay. I stand to hope, I think it says I stand. I stand to hope and faith in God's word. I s I think it's stand, I don't know. What was meant for harm, God will use for his good. Yes, you lose. The Lord will not oh, sorry, the Lord will get the glory. Please leave God out of it. We will take this as high as we need to clear my name, and as such should bring process law changes here into this district. Like, I think the way she envisions it, there will be a new law, like a Laurie Shaver law, Laurie Filmer law that will be enacted because of the injustice she suffered. That's only in her mind. Like, nobody else came out of this thinking she was the victim. I felt so bad for her children and how she knew something happened to Michael and she pretended to be him. And none of it made any sense. This is one of those make it makes it doesn't make any sense. How this case was investigated and handled by the state attorney's office was wrong, unfair, unethical, and not justifiable. Okay. Other issues aside from those that will be filed on appeal that I believe the honorable judge should take notice should take notice include, a tainted jury, Miranda rights, and impeachment of Jeremy, and failure to disclose Brady evidence. During the trial, a juror was questioned about sitting on the court steps and overhearing a media interview. Following trial, it became known to us that on Friday, September 13th, the day of my conviction, someone had seen and overheard juror member and other juror. Okay, so like she's going to report that there was like inappropriate conversations happening, because it's my understanding that there were, every day in court they would start with their complaints about things that they thought had happened, that they had not spies, but that they had investigators watching everything to, because they were trying to have something go wrong. No, or they were trying to see if something did go wrong that could call for, I don't know if they wanted a new trial. I don't know, but that's my understanding of what was happening. Following my booking, after I was incarcerated for approximately 3 weeks, an officer came to my cell and stated they received a call from a detective and needed to see my tattoos. Without thinking why, I showed the officer my tattoos, who called the detective and reported back her findings. When this occurred, I was not sure why. At booking, they noted tattoo for identification purposes. However, at trial, the prosecutor spoke of my tattoos, and they were also mentioned in the media. Yeah. My rights were violated, and I was taken advantage of while incarcerated in 2020. And and while you're incarcerated, like, they can ask to see your tattoos. I don't know. Like, that's mm, it's probably not gonna be a surprise. I don't agree with any of the things she's saying in this. I just don't. And then she has some impeachment complaints. Oh, a lot about Jeremy. To me, she very much seems like she's, like, in love with Jeremy, but as you can see and know very well, there are many issues with this case. Much is not true and cannot or has not been validated as indicated by the state. In addition to the statement of judicial acts to be reviewed on appeal, I hope my explanation will reveal many of the holes in this case, and a judicial responsibility will be taken with high esteem. Wrongful conviction is not okay, and this district needs to step and reevaluate their ethical and moral codes. And that there, because it should be THEIR. I know it's minor, and I'm like, but it's the wrong there. But yeah, it's minor, but it's a thing for me. All right. So we are gonna hop over to her sentencing, because it's gonna be fast. I'm laughing a little because, okay, let's start it from here. Let's see.
As to the form of the introduction.
Oh, that's her lawyer upset about something. Her lawyer did a very good job for her. He did. I think he had a few hot mic incidents, but it is what it is. I'm getting to the place where, okay. So let's just start it from here, because this is going to be quick.
Recommendation to the court at this stage. And Ms. Shaver, I know in the PSI, she had sent the court a letter as to her feelings, impressions, and her sentiment about the matter. I presume it's made a part of the record for purposes of the sentencing, and I presume that the court has reviewed that as well.
I have reviewed the letter, Mr. Wiggs.
Thank you, Judge.
Is there anything further?
Just and I sympathize with the family that's here. I know they have heartfelt feelings about it and emotions. It's not testimony in the sense that it's offered anything
And let me just say, before he said all this, because I skipped through a lot of it, he said, "Let me make this quick." He does not say anything quickly.
thing to establish the state's case. And I am sympathetic as to the scenario that they found themselves. The court would be reminded, though, and also in this case, that there was evidence of physical abuse by Mr. Shaver. And there was nothing that really contradicted that in this trial. I bring that to the attention of the court as well. And I think all these facts would justify at least the minimum mandatory imposition.
All right. Does your client wish to address the court?
Do you need 1 second? You said it in your letter. I wouldn't say anything.
So his mic is on, and we all heard him say, "You said it in your letter. I wouldn't say anything right now." Like that's what he says.
Okay. No, she doesn't, Judge.
Okay. Is there anything further?
Nothing further from the defense.
Anything further from the state?
No, sir.
Please present your client for sentencing.
Shaver.
All right. Laurie Shaver Filmer, in case number 2020 CF 2361, having been found guilty by a jury of your peers of the offense of murder in the second degree with a firearm, and having been adjudicated guilty of the offense of murder in the second degree with a firearm, the court hereby sentences you to a term of life in the Florida Department of Corrections. Standard fines, fees, and costs will be assessed. Mandatory court costs will be assessed. You will have 30 days to appeal.
That was it. Like life. Like the judge could have given a colloquy, like the judge could have talked about things that he saw or that he thought from the case. He could have talked about how she could let her daughter, the judge could have said the judge said, "Okay, I heard everything. Life." And in the state of Florida, life is life. Like life. Okay. And that was it. That was it. And so hey Tanika, hello to everybody in chat. Welcome, welcome. If you haven't hit the like button, please, it just helps in little algorithm stuff. We are about to hop into a heavy case. Okay. This next case, I am not going to play the testimony from the psychologist. But let's go on ahead and switch over to our second case today. And this is the case of, I need to make myself, there we go. Okay. Trigger warnings for this case. This woman, Susan, had difficulties with children in general. She's going to talk. So I think she legit had a history of trauma, and screaming was a trigger for her. But the way that she handled that trigger was incredibly reactive. And she thought that children playing on an empty lot that belonged to no one. So there was a lot where the kids had permission to play. The kids would play there, and she would call the cops. She would scream and yell at them. There are allegations that she called them names. She is going to let the N-word roll off her tongue so easily as she proceeds to say that she's not racist, but because we're gonna listen to her statement to the judge, okay? And she's gonna count the number of Black people that she knows and why she can't be racist. The only people that spoke on her behalf just so happened to be white. The neighbor that she shot was an African-American mother. And her name is AJ Ajike. And she was a mom. And she was a mama bear, and she was trying to protect her kids. It's my understanding that I think AJ thought that the neighbor took her son's tablet or something, or that she had pushed her son, or there was an escalation that happened, and AJ was just knocking on her door, yelling at her to come out because she wanted to have a conversation with her. Susan had already called the cops, but for some reason, Susan goes and gets a gun and shoots through the door. And she could have shot because there was a child standing right beside AJ. And AJ, okay, trigger warnings. I've already said all the trigger warnings. AJ dies right there. And she is going to try to claim to be the victim. She is like there was a psychologist that gave a lot of long testimony. I think her dad was a Holocaust survivor, and there were multiple traumas that were experienced. I believe her sister also gave a statement about SA by their father, and I can't control what happens to me, but I can control my response. And so let me look up AJ's age. So Susan is 60 years old. AJ, because I think she was a mother of 4. Let me look it up. And people are probably finding it. I have a video down below where I covered this case. Let me share this one to share her beautiful face. Okay, so that's AJ. I believe she was, I think I see 30, I think I see 35. Let me go back. Doo, doo, doo. I want to say AJ was 35. But this is Ajike AJ. And it was senseless. It didn't have to happen. And she's going to try to have the judge feel sorry for her. She's going to try to explain how she's not like, I don't know, like she's gonna have some thoughts, and I want to talk about it. Okay. Yes, AJ was 35 years old. And the tensions had been going on for over 2.5 years. This happened in Ocala, Florida. I can't say it, but it's a northern Florida city. That's where this happened. This psychologist, I think, did a good job just talking about the psych eval and her history of trauma, all of those things. That was the mitigating evidence that they were submitting about why she should have less of a sentence. Oh, I've already given y'all all the trigger warnings, okay? Ocala. Thank you. Thank you, Peg. Ocala. All right. This is going to be tough. I'm going to pause it at times. We're going to listen to Susan, and then we're going to listen to the judge.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm making a statement so you understand my actions and my reasoning the night of the shooting. My medical disabilities. I've had 25 knee surgeries on my right knee. Ended up having multiple replacements and then a catastrophic failure due to an allergy. I went back to have another knee replacement, and I was burned during surgery. And so I had gotten very ill, and my knee literally goes backwards. I had a laminectomy of my lumbar spine from the accident in 2019. I was back-ended at a stoplight, and there was a horrible complication. My dura from my spinal cord actually healed onto my actual spine. So when they went to do the correction, give it a little more space, the dura tore. I was leaking cerebral spinal fluid, and he had to do an actual spinal cord repair. They didn't know if I would walk again from that. I've also had left with nerve damage to my lower legs and feet and have diminished feeling and numbness. And I've fallen twice because of this. And I had just, I fell the first.
And I think it's a little. So I think the judge that she is speaking to, I think he has had. It looks like he's. I don't know if he's been burned, but he has a physical, like you can tell something's happened. And the things that we go through, that does not mean that it's okay for you to be a jerk, for you to be a menace, for you to be hateful and mean and rude to other people. Go to therapy, get on medication, heal. Like you, it's not okay to do what she did.
Time in 2019 and had sustained internal injuries. I had bruised my lung and I had gotten a ganglion cyst on my right wrist. The second fall was November 2022. I fell because I walked into a bathroom. The light was supposed to come on and it never came on. And there was a toilet paper roll with the actual cylinder inside. And so it rolled out from under my foot and I fell backwards. And I had torn my rotator cuff and muscles in my left shoulder. The 2019 accident also impacted my cervical spine, and I lost feeling in my hands and had to have therapy. I had horrible migraines, terrible neck pain, and was going through all this. And so I also have cataracts in both eyes, and the one on my left is progressing faster. So it looks like I'm going through Vaseline on a lens. And I have some heart issues and high blood pressure. And there's a reason why I'm telling you all this. I have carpal tunnel in both hands and muscle loss and diminished gripping capabilities. The first time I encountered Ms. Owens was February of 2022. I was about 7 weeks after the neck fusion. And
Okay. And I don't believe her telling of this story, that because she's going to claim that AJ threw a sign at her and it, like a paper sign, and it left a mark on her. I don't believe this happened the way that she said it happened. There were multiple witnesses around and AJ didn't have issues with anyone else. It was just her. And this is hard. So this is hard because I live in a community, and there was a African American middle school black boy that was followed by an older white neighbor home so that the neighbor could tell his parents what she's, and I guess like the neighbor was, because the neighbor posted the video to our community group and was like, like this is what like nobody should follow my kid home. My kid did not feel safe. Like, cuz the kid just walks home from school and was probably walking with some friends, and maybe the kids, I don't know what happened, but the kids, they weren't being physically aggressive with each other. There was no reason for this woman to follow this child home. And the parents, like the video I saw, like things are heated. Like they're going back and forth cuz like, "Ma'am, you just followed my kid home." Okay? And when stuff like that happens, it can make it hard to let your kids be kids. Like, that woman had no right to follow a child home. And what, because the child is like comes in and is scared because it's like, this woman, she's following me home. And oh, it ended up being, but like everything was fine. But like, when I say fine, like the parents got a lot of community support. I guess this neighbor is known for doing stuff like this. And like I just can't. Like, her complaints to me were just kids being kids. Like the kids being too loud. And she's doing her meetings cuz there were multiple police calls, cuz even she would get upset with the police cuz there was a dog barking, and she would come out and get upset because she was trying to work, and there was a dog and the man is on the community sidewalk, and the dog is just barking, and she's upset about the dog barking. Like, she seemed to nitpick every little thing.
She basically attacked me, and she threw the sign at me, and I thought, what is going on here? I didn't expect to be confronted like that. And I had a huge red scar on my neck at that point in time, and she's screaming at me, and she keeps coming closer and closer and closer. I'm backing up, and then she's trying to rip the cell phone out of my hands. Finally, I had to, say, you're trespassing, you really need to leave. And she picks up the sign, and she says, what, this fucking trespassing sign, and throws it at me. This is where she hit me. And I still have the red mark where she hit me. I've never ever dealt with someone who was that violent that quickly. And so I was terrified of this woman, literally terrified. I've never had anyone, the first time I've met them, throw something at me and get so physically abusive. And sorry. People are saying I wasn't afraid. I was horrified. And when she was.
And even if she was afraid, the police were on their way. She fired a weapon through a locked. She did not know what she was firing at. And because I think she was only charged with manslaughter, I want to say. I don't think it was second. I think it was manslaughter. I think that's what she was convicted of. The community was upset. The community wanted her to be charged with more. I believe she was found guilty of manslaughter. We're going to keep it going. Oy.
Was banging on that door. It was just so loud in the house. I could not hear what she was screaming. And then I found out the children, who said they were right there, actually were around the corner of the apartment, over 100 feet away. How could they hear anything? So I don't understand. And the prosecutors knew the children lied. They found the children in the lies. They said I threw skates and I hit them. That never happened. The prosecutor knows that didn't happen. That's why the charges were dropped.
And it's my understanding, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, because Miranda said, what if one of the kids was with AJ? It's my understanding that there was a child standing beside her. It's my understanding that one of her children were with her. And the judge is going to give some really phenomenal statements, because her child that went home to say, Mom, that neighbor that child, I pray that child knows that they should always be able to go to a parent to let them know if something isn't okay, because that child could have some guilt. And to me, she's the one that overreacted. She's the one that shouldn't have done what she did. That child had every right to go to their parent and say, this isn't okay, because that child could have some guilt about, like, it's my, if I just kept it to myself, if I just hadn't said anything, my mom would still be alive. And no child should have to live with that. And I'm glad that the judge mentioned that in his statement, because she's over here trying to be like, oh, like, I was so afraid, I was so this, I was so that.
Just been flummoxed about this whole case. I don't understand. I understand I have PTSD. This woman kept coming after me. I had approached her because I was watering my plants, and she's going, oh, there's a crazy old white lady. And I'm like, you can't just go around saying someone's crazy. I mean, it was insanity. So I went to say something to her, and she verbally attacked me again. She's like, you've been calling my kids racist names and stuff. I said, no, ma'am, I have not. And she kept getting angrier and angrier. The more I said no, the angrier she got. So finally I said, I was terrified. I mean, she went from a very relaxed position to a position here. I could see her.
And as a Black woman, because Black women can get misunderstood as being angry when we are just being normal, just being ourselves. I used to downplay my emotion. Like I used to not, because that was a fear of mine, was being misperceived as a angry Black woman. I will never forget when we when we were building the house that we're in now. um my husband and I, so the house wasn't complete. um uh there wasn't a physical garage door on the garage. My husband and I were right off of the, like, we were inside the house, and we hear our door opening. And um and I jump forward, and I'm like, and I smile, and I'm like, "Hi." And it's our neighbor from next door, who I think they had moved into their house. I think their house had been built, and they're like, "Oh, hi, we just wanted to." And so we did not welcome them into our home. We did not, because my husband was over here like, "Who just trespassed on our," like, my husband was like, who just came into my house?" And I'm over here like, "Oh, hi," because, and that was a people pleasing stress trauma response, because even though it's my home, if that person somehow felt threatened, like this was literally, like, this was our house. But they're like, somebody was walking into our house, like, they didn't knock, like, they literally just opened the door and were just walking in, and ended up being really sweet, nice neighbors. I ended up going over to their house. My husband never did. Like that. My husband was like, nope. Like, he never recovered from them trespassing on our house. It never happened again. So, like, because the house was being built and it wasn't finished, and it's known that sometimes people walk through other people's house, but not. So we would go and get permission every time we would come to walk through our house. We would go to the building office to get the keys, to notify them that we were gonna be down there, because we knew we are 2 younger looking Black people walking around the house. Somebody could call the cops saying something looks suspicious, but the main office would know, "Oh, no, like, it's was it a man and like, that, no, those are the owners of the house." But, like, things shouldn't be that way, but, like, that's legit what things happen. And so, totally had a fawn response, and to and but, like, my husband was about, and I stepped in front of my husband, 'cause my husband doesn't play. And, so the neighbors knew that, so they just wanted to meet us. We had never talked to them before, so let me go back. We had never spoke, they had never seen us, we had never talked before. There weren't steps to the front door, so, because what they did was they walked through our garage and came through, they were opening the garage door, like, to come into the house, to the mud room or whatever. Like, that's where we all were. And, uh, like, it's it's a whole thing. It really is called boundaries. And I think they were from the Midwest. I don't wanna blame that on anything. And they were older and white. They were super, like, they were nice. Like I said, I used to hang out with the wife. She would have, like, women's events, and I would go and get free food and hang out with her sometimes. They moved a few years back, because I think they were here for, like, 2 or 3 years, and then they ended up moving. But, so I just wanted to mention that, because what she's perceiving as an angry, violent, aggressive Black woman, that can be a stereotype, and we have to be aware of bias, because Susan's gonna say she's not biased, but, the way that Susan talks about Black people, I'm not comfortable, like, it's okay.
Neck veins starting to bulge. Her pulse is really getting, fast. And I'm thinking, she's going to beat the hell out of me right here in the street. So I said, listen, I'm sorry. If that's what you think I said, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. I didn't say it, but I'm sorry. I went to walk away, and she's following 1 foot behind me the whole time to my apartment till I slammed the door in their face. Again, never had anyone do anything that aberrant in my life. Um, like I said, it's been a nightmare. Then Detective Stitt says that Isaac had come, was one of the 3 children. I told him no, but he still put it in the report that this child was there. The child was never there. I have never spoken in my life to Isaac. I just haven't. I knew him by his association with his mother. Never spoke to the other little girl, and never spoke to the little boy Titus. Israel, I did speak to. He has been unbelievably rude, and it was a few days before Christmas 2022, and he was trespassing, and I'm like, you need to leave, you're trespassing. And so he turns to me, he says, you're old, you're white, you're all alone, nobody cares about you, you're worthless. And I'm like, oh my God.
I don't know that that's true. Like, I don't know if Susan, I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
I didn't expect this from a 9-year-old child. And so I found
That doesn't sound like something a 9-year-old would like, that sounds like a negative internal thought that she would have. Like, that doesn't sound like something a 9-year-old would say to me. But that's just my thought.
I said, you know what? We come into this world alone, we leave this world alone, get used to being alone. And he left. And next thing I know, she comes back and she's screaming and banging on my door. I'm like, what in the world is going on? You can't talk to my child that way. I said, ma'am, you need to leave. And so she was banging and banging. She
I don't believe she said ma'am. I don't believe she said ma'am.
breaks the door frame. She broke it so much that she bent the actual strike plate. And I couldn't lock the door and I couldn't open the door correctly. I was like, if she's going to do that to my door frame and break a metal piece, what is she going to do to me? I also have from that same fall when I was on the toilet paper, I have an aneurysm on my left kidney artery. I'm not supposed to be getting excited. I'm not supposed to have high blood pressure. This woman is terrorizing me. I mean, she is absolutely terrorizing me. If she hits me, she will kill me. Literally, she will kill me. I will bleed out internally. I will exsanguinate. So was I terrified? Absolutely. And just as far as the kids saying I said racial slurs to them, it never happened.
Trigger warnings. She is going to say the N-word, and it's going, like, once again, like, she's going to use it. She's going to try to say it in a way, but like, I've already given my trigger warning.
I just never said them. I have never talked to London. I have never talked to Calix, Jareth, or I don't know the kid's name. But Isaac was the other one. I have never spoken to him. Isaac, I knew. The other 3, I would never have known they even lived in my neighborhood. As far as the child, Israel is concerned, he said I called him a slave. I have never called anyone a slave in my life. Not an adult, not a child, just something I wouldn't do. And to say that I called him the N-word is ridiculous. I've never called anyone the N-word. And I don't know where he's getting this from. I don't understand. I was married to a non-white man. He was.
And so when you're trying to describe that you're not racist, the last thing you want to do is start identifying the Black people that you know. Like, that's a really, really bad sign if you start talking about the non-white people that you know.
Actually Middle Eastern, brown skin, and someone had called him a sand nigger and a camel jockey, and I was highly offended. And
Okay, so like, it's the way that she said it. This is a word that I would think she said before.
brown skin, and someone had called him a sand nigger and a camel jockey, and I was highly offended. And
That judge is amazing because that's why I couldn't be a judge. Okay? That is why I could not be a judge. And so your proximity, so somebody somebody asked, why is it a bad sign if somebody's trying to prove that they're not a racist to start talking about the number of Black people or non-white people that they know. So somebody can be married because racism is thinking that there's a group of people that's better and above another group of people. Racism is a system that benefits that like pushes up a group and pushes down another group. There are thoughts and beliefs that are rooted in racism and things being separate, uh and like I like it's hard to put it into words why it's a bad sign because like just because your proximity to blackness does not mean that a person can't have those thoughts and ideas. So just because somebody knows a Black person doesn't mean that they can't have racist thoughts or racist ideas or say something that is racist. And so that's those are my thoughts. Thank you, Tanika. And this is all sarcasm. She has Black friends. Come on. Like this was I when I saw this, I was like, oh no, she didn't.
I would never do that to a child ever. And I just, I sang professionally in New York. I did jazz and the blues. I sang for Charles Gamble, Ernie Susser, and I had voice coach Jim Gassett, who had people in Dreamgirls, Miss Saigon, Les Mis. And I sang with Larry Woodard from the Metropolitan Opera. Larry is Black. Charles is Black. Our pianist was Black. Most of the girls who sang the blues and did jazz.
Is is um is it getting is it getting sinking in why when somebody starts counting the number of people of color that they know, like this does not come off well. Does that make sense? So I come from a lens of doing things that's anti-racist or that is to actively do and say things that help bring down a system that doesn't benefit anyone. It just doesn't. And and so I'm about, dismantling sexism, the all the obias and like so my thing is about addressing inequality or issues in all of its forms. The one that affects me the most is first Black. So before people see me as a woman, they normally see me as a Black person. That's just that's just how it goes. And then as a woman, like those are the things for me. All right, let's keep going.
All Black. I never had a problem with a Black person in my life.
Okay.
This is not about race. And I actually love children. I have taught horseback riding lessons, dressage and hunter equitation. I've taught swimming.
The children in the community did not feel that she loved children. Like she would yell and scream at them and call the police on them.
At summer camp. I was a big sister for big brothers, big sisters. And if it wasn't for having cancer, I had uterine and ovarian cancer in my 30s, I would have had my children. And it's one of the reasons why I had issues with the gentleman I was with, because he wanted to have another child, and I felt I was stopping him. That said, I would like to make a statement to AJ's mom, children, and friends. It is with heavy heart and great remorse I write this letter to you. First and foremost,
So she did try to show some, like because she is apologizing for what happened. We'll see where this goes from there.
I'm so sorry that I took AJ's life. I never intended to kill her. The night I shot that gun, I was confused as to why she was screaming and pounding on my door. I had an idea that Israel told her I had hit him.
So she's still making it about her and her thoughts and feelings, but okay.
I could not understand why she was so angry. And she truly scared me. Now that I know he told her I hit him, I am just profoundly sad. Not only did a mother die, but a daughter and a sister. I think of your family's loss and know how hard it is to lose someone you love. Not being able to see that person, look at that person, or just talk to that person is such an empty feeling. I so wish I could go back and change things so that she was still here. I would trade my life so that she could be here, if it were possible. I know that you have all suffered from her loss, and I have prayed for you and your family during this time so that you can, that God could help you. Nothing I can do will change the outcome. I can only tell you I have cried and I feel horrible for my actions. Please accept my humble and sincere apology for this tragedy.
Thank you. So defense, have anything else they'd like?
And so the defense is going to request that I think they're going to ask for like 11 years or something. They're going to ask for less years than normal. Let me see if this is the judge or if this is her.
She's very amenable to.
And so I'm just going to try to
Appreciate the criminal.
Okay. All right. I really liked the judge's statements, and so we are now going to listen to the judge.
In regards to the downward departure arguments made by defense counsel,
Oh, so that's the state. The state, of course, does not believe that they should give less time. She is diagnosed with PTSD. Okay. All right, that's still the state. All right, now let's get to the judge.
Anything else?
No, Judge, I just need to make a couple objections for the record.
Sure.
yes,
Okay. Judge, I just want to object to adding the 18 additional points on the score sheet for the firearm. Just in case this becomes an issue with the case law down the line, she's already charged and convicted of manslaughter by use of a firearm, which in and of itself enhances it to a first-degree felony. So adding the 18 additional points, I think would be improper. So I wanted to object to that. And then also there was a PSI done in this case
Where is that? Where is that at?
on the score sheet. I think it's on the second page.
I believe so, Judge.
What is the state's position on that 18 points?
We believe that the 18 points is validly added. There was a finding made by the jury in this case, and I also have a case. I've given defense counsel a copy. I have a copy for the court. It's out the 5th BCA.
I'm going to fast forward past this part. He looks young. He's probably I don't know how old he is. He just looks young.
Those for a manslaughter by firearm offense.
I'm sorry, Your
The offense in the case is a manslaughter by firearm.
Honor. I believe so, Your Honor, because it was reclassified to a first-degree felony
Right.
based
Well,
on the evidence, the undisputed evidence that the defendant used a firearm.
It says in the first line it's manslaughter with a firearm. So
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
a rhetorical question in that regard.
Okay, I apologize.
What's the defense position on this case?
All right, so I'm going to fast forward through that part just to get to the judge. And okay, so let's just start from here.
I would just, it's in the PSI, whatever's in the PSI I've looked at. I don't generally look at letters and other things that are in PSI, and I didn't put any weight on them in this case. The reason I do that is because I think I've pretty consistently over the last 17 years sentenced the same, pretty much on the nature of the offense, whatever the person's prior record might be, and whatever I think they may do in the future. I think that's pretty much how I do it. If I start looking at letters from friends, well, the problem is that I may give a break to someone because they have friends, and someone who doesn't have friends doesn't get that break. So I simply never do that. I sentence everyone pretty much the same, I think, over that period of time. I do find that the defense has produced evidence that she would qualify for departure because she has for a mental disorder. I think they found, I find they've proven she has PTSD, which is a recognized mental disorder, and is unrelated to substance abuse or addiction, and that she is amenable to treatment. So I do find she would qualify for that departure. On your second one, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of the conduct, I don't find there was sufficient evidence to prove that departure. There was no indication that she ever did not understand what she was doing, or that shooting at a person would be against the law, or that she couldn't conform with the law in any way. As a matter of fact, she seemed to be, prior to the shooting, calling the police. So it didn't appear to be any situation where her capacity was impaired in any way. I don't find there's evidence that the victim was the initiator, willing participant, aggressor, or provoker of the incident. Otherwise,
So that was huge. So the judge did not find that the victim was the aggressor. She was knocking on the woman's door. Like, that's what she was probably upset. She probably was upset. And so I think it's big that the judge did not find that AJ was the aggressor.
although she was knocking loudly in this case, there was no real attempt to get in the residence. She kept asking her to come outside. So I don't find that that departure ground has been met. Despite the existence of one legitimate departure reason, even if she did qualify for the other two departure reasons, I would not depart in this case, because I find that the aggravated nature of this case and this offense and the harm inflicted outweighs the mitigation or the departure. When I weigh
So that's huge. So the harm that this case has caused outweighs any mitigation. So her diagnosis of PTSD, okay, but the harm that was caused outweighs any mitigate. And there was a lot. Like the testimony for mitigation, it was a lot of evidence that was presented. I think that psychologist was on the stand for, it was a while. It was probably from an hour and 50 all the way. Yeah, it was about like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
the totality of the whole case. So I find that the seriousness of the offense outweighs any legal departures that could be applied in this case. I'm primarily looking at the harm inflicted upon not only the victim, who of course lost her life, but her family. She has 4 children, all of whom were present during the offense or somewhere in the general vicinity, or at least home. It certainly will have a traumatic impact on their lives for the rest of their lives. They'll live their whole lives without their mother, which I think is a very significant harm inflicted upon them by Ms. Lorincz. When I look at the nature of the offense, I find that the shooting was completely unnecessary in this case. Ms. Lorincz was behind the door. The door was locked. She had already called law enforcement. They were en route. She knew they were en route. She was in a relatively safe position. For some reason, she went into her room and found a gun. She could have stayed in the room and put another locked door between her and Miss Owens, but she came back out, put herself in front of the door, and And at the time she fired the gun through the door, she was safe. Miss Owens was simply, although she was clearly banging loudly and was probably very angry over the whole situation, it appears to be she was mostly demanding that Miss Lawrence come outside, which would indicate she had no indication of coming inside the house. So when Miss Lawrence fired the gun through the door, she did so knowing a person was directly on the other side of the door. And she knew that person wasn't a burglar, she wasn't a robber, she wasn't a rapist. She knew she was probably upset about the interaction with the kids, but she had arguments with her before and no real harm came other than, I guess, a sign was thrown at her, a paper sign. And that's when she decided to shoot.
And you can see her mouthing something like she was really upset that he kind of, probably in her mind, minimized that sign throwing incident. Because I think she put up a no trespassing. My recollection from the trial was that Susan put up a no trespassing sign in the common field where all the kids played. And the parent, they reached out to the owner of that field, and that owner was like, no, yeah, the kids, anybody can play there. And so she probably did take down that sign and throw it in her direction. I don't know. Something happened with that sign that Susan wasn't happy about.
I find that the shooting, when I listened to every aspect of the trial and every aspect of sentencing here, you know, it's the facts don't rise to a murder charge, but they are very aggravated manslaughter. Because this case, the shooting was based, I find, more on anger than fear.
Wow.
I think that's pretty well established.
And so Susan isn't happy with that either, that Susan was angry. So the judge felt she was angry. And to me, the body cam footage, I do have my video of my prior coverage of this case down below where I played some of the body cam footage. But if you watch some of that footage of when the police had arrived for other situations and for other things, she seems angry all the time. And now somebody in a trauma response, anger is an option, but the judge found she acted more out of anger than fear.
In this case. So when I weigh it out, and believe me, I find that, she's a victim of child sex abuse was a significant mitigating factor. And she has no criminal record, which is also a significant factor. However, we also have a tremendous harm inflicted upon this family and the victim's family. So what I'm going to do in this case is she being adjudicated guilty of manslaughter with a firearm in order to serve 25 years in the Department of Corrections. With credit for 538 days. $100 cost of prosecution, $100 fine, court cost. Good luck to you, ma'am. You have 30 days to appeal.
So she was sentenced to 25 years, which she's currently 60. That was probably a life sentence for her. Wow. And if you're talking about Susan rocking in the chair, she might be trying to manage, she might be stressed. So sometimes when people are stressed, they rock. I think jail aged her some, and I think she used to dye her hair. I think she used to dye her hair blonde, because that's how her hair looked when she was arrested. Exactly. With all of her health conditions and everything, that's a life sentence for her. Yeah. I wanted to cover those aspects of that case. Someone asked if I would cover the Chloe driver, the phone calls. And so I do have this linked down in the description. if you like listening to phone calls, no need, you don't learn anything from these phone calls. If you kind of feel sorry for Chloe, you might listen to these and not feel as sorry for Chloe. I mean, like, um, Jason, Jason and Z, Benjamin, Ben Michael, like all Jason, Z. Yeah, I think those were all of his name. All of the Z had other names. If you follow the Chloe Driver case, here are some of the phone calls. I covered the first call. Um, they realized that their calls are being monitored, and because I think the prosecutor or somebody talked with them about not talking about the case during their calls. And they also find out that Court TV is going to be streaming it, and they were quite happy about that as well. Let me know if y'all have any questions about the calls. Um, oh wow. Who's Mike? So is Jay Mike? So I don't the shaming of Jay is the channel. That's where I found these videos. Um and I have his channel linked down in the description. All right. So I have that one linked. Oh, Law Talk with Mike. Nice. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can check that out over on Law Talk with Mike. I also covered Jason's testimony. It was whoa. the we oddest, like that was unique. It was definitely a cult. They definitely have odd beliefs. I think some of their beliefs made them sound like a delusional group, which might have minimized some of Chloe's claims. Because I think Chloe was claiming that she was getting these signs that were telling her it was time, and that was the delusion that she was acting on. But the law, according to the attorney, so I like it when the attorneys break down the law. The attorney said the delusion would have to justify the crime, and that there wasn't a specific there wasn't a thought, there wasn't anything that justified, based in their belief system, based in her mental health, that would justify what happened. And so, um, yay! I'm glad y'all were able to follow along with me with that one. I did skip through, I think, 2 hours. I don't know. I skipped through some of his testimony because it was a lot. It was a lot. I am going to start a members only stream. We can chat for a little bit. I'm going to move that time to 3:20. I will see members over there. My next coverage will probably be Monday or Tuesday. So I don't know how my schedule is going to shake up, but for the Sarah Boone case, it'll either be either Monday, because Sarah Boone gets sentenced on Monday. So either Monday or Tuesday. Aw, Tanika, thank you for gifting a membership. I appreciate you. Please, Tanika is going to be providing live coverage of Sarah Boone sentencing. And so make sure to check out her channel. She also covered the letters. So some of the family court letters, and she has a dramatic reading. Tanika, I was serious. That made my day. I think it was Wednesday. Okay. Like I listened to that. I think it was Wednesday. It was so much fun. I had a blast. I will see y'all soon. Have a good one. Bye.